Dynamic Duel podcast, where we review superhero films and debate the superiority between Marvel and DC by comparing their characters in stat-based battle simulations. I'm Marvelous Joe.
And I'm his twin brother, Johnny DC.
And in this episode, we will be discussing who would win a fight between Zatanna and the Scarlet Witch.
It's one of those classic Marvel versus DC matches that you've always wanted to see, that people have always pit these two characters against each other. I'm really looking forward to this.
Right, yeah, exactly, yeah. It's a classic Marvel versus DC match, and now we finally get to find out who would actually win in the fight.
We're going to get the definitive answer.
Yeah, we are, and it's going to be Scarlet Witch.
Really? You really think that?
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, I think that. So if you're new to the podcast, what we do with our Duel episodes is we take a character from Marvel and DC, compile their stats together, and run 1,000 simulations to find out who would actually be the winner. So look forward to that later on in this episode. Before we get into that main event, we're going to go ahead and discuss the comic book movie news over the past week. Again, there's been no Marvel news.
It has been a Marvel drought. I am so surprised that we haven't even gotten anything from Captain Marvel.
We're supposed to be getting the trailer for Captain Marvel shortly here and watch it happen on Labor Day because, full disclosure, we're actually recording this a day before Labor Day. So.
Oh, geez, you're right.
Yeah.
Of course.
So if that happens, then I apologize, and we'll be discussing the trailer in the subsequent episode. But yeah, there needs to be some Marvel news coming through the pipeline soon, you would think.
Well, what are we talking about?
Well, we'll be talking about Alec Baldwin dropping out of the Joker movie.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah, because we just talked about that last week.
It's not even really a news item. There's not much to say about it. It's just other than Alec Baldwin was cast, and then 2 days later, he was like, nah, bud. I'm not cast.
So also the DC Universe release date has been announced, and we got some more news regarding that upcoming streaming service. We also got some casting news for the Doom Patrol show that's going to premiere on the DC Universe streaming app, as well as some behind-the-scenes first looks at some characters from the team. And yeah, that's pretty much it, and then we'll go ahead and get into the main event. Just a heads up that on Patreon, we are currently on a hiatus, so there will be no bonus episode this Thursday.
Right.
We are currently working on a top secret project that we can't talk to you guys about just yet, but will at a later date. So
yeah, you'll hear about it when we're done.
Yeah. One of the goals that we have for our Patreon is to get to 25 patrons so that we can start printing out physical copies of our Dynamic Duel No Prize that we award each episode and mail these copies out to the winners.
Not there yet, but we're getting closer day by day.
Yep. So yeah, definitely check us out at patreon.com/dynamicduel to help us out with that. And speaking of no prizes,
it's no prize time. So no prize is an award that Marvel used to give out up until the 90s to fans. Our version, the Dynamic Duel No Prize, is a digital award that we post on social media that I personally draw for those who we feel gave the best answer to our question of the week. Last week's question was, what do you think is the best film score for a Marvel or DC film?
And just remember that we are recording this episode a day early than what we normally do, so if you sent us an answer and you're not listed on this honorable mention list, then we apologize and you are special. So honorable mention goes to Joel Seagrave for his answer, Guardians of the Galaxy and Deadpool 2, both composed by Tyler Bates, actually.
Yeah.
He's a fantastic composer. He's done a lot of great superhero work, including these two movies.
Work, yeah.
I really love his Guardians of the Galaxy score. And Joel was right in saying that he loves how it popped up in Infinity War as their theme. It's just a fantastic theme. Yeah. And Deadpool 2, I think that is in specific reference to the parental advisory that came along with that score. With the Juggernaut song, where you can't stop him. Holy shitballs, holy. Yeah, it was such a great score. So, yeah, love that answer. Thank you very much, Joel Seagrave.
Yeah. Also, congrats to Mitchell Phipps, who gave the answer Captain America Winter Soldier. That was really good. And Tyler Jacobson, who gave the answer of V for Vendetta, which is really great. I love that score.
Our other honorable mention goes to Dan Baker for his answer of 1989's Batman film, which of course epically included Prince along with Danny Elfman's just awesome, amazing score.
Well, not as part of the score, but it was part of the soundtrack that
Prince
was part of. But no, I really wanted to give it to him for the winner because I love that score. Ultimately, though, we are giving the no prize to both Tim Brown and John Spees for their answer of the Superman the Movie score by John Williams.
It's the classic superhero score.
Absolutely.
In some ways, it has yet to be improved upon. It's rather timeless.
I always just remember Richard Donner, the director of Superman the Movie, his first reaction to listening to it and he just heard the words Superman in the theme. And now when I listen to it, I can't not hear that.
Right. Yeah, it's just a great score. And, you know, John ShDEsI, of course, is a friend of the podcast. He hosts his own podcast called the Blast from Our Past podcast, and he's actually a music teacher, so got to take him at his word. If he says that Superman, the movie original music score, is the best, then it's probably the best.
Yeah, I agree. It's Superman. It's Superman. It's the best.
Yeah, no, he's not the best, but congrats again.
It's the best.
Congrats to Tim Brown and John ShDEsI. And if you guys want to win a no prize, go ahead and listen to later on this episode when we give another question of the week. With that out of the way,
on to the news. Okay, so as we mentioned, Alec Baldwin has dropped out of playing Thomas Wayne in the Joker film. And it was so stupid.
Yeah, hot off the news that he was even set to join the cast.
Right. And I was so excited about it last week, and I talked it up, and then like a day later,
way to go, Alec Baldwin. You made us look like idiots.
Way to go. And I don't like being made to look like an idiot, Alec Baldwin. You should have just stayed as Thomas Wayne. It would have been perfect for you. Scheduling conflicts, really? Or you're too busy doing Donald Trump on Saturday Night Live to do a movie?
Yeah, what the hell?
What else is he doing? I can't think of any. I'm not following his career that closely.
Right.
But come on. It was a great role.
Well, some people are speculating that the role is a little bit too smarmy and he's kind of like done playing that character, or he doesn't necessarily want that type of role to continue defining his career, I guess.
I guess I could see that. But again, I think he would have been fantastic in the role.
He would have.
Since then, actually, I've heard Michael Keaton being rumored.
That would be so bizarre. Batman playing Batman's dad. Interesting. Although, you know, you could totally say that Joaquin Phoenix is Michael Keaton's son, and I would believe that.
Yeah. They both have like this intensity about them.
Right. And that's going off the rumor that the film is going to insinuate that Thomas Wayne is the Joker's illegitimate father.
Right.
So I can see that. That would work for me. And Michael Keaton, he's just such a fantastic actor.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I could totally see him in this role. I mean, it's just, I hope it's not just fan speculation, but I'm not sure who else they would cast. Right now, Michael Keaton is sort of my dream.
John Hamm.
Him too. That's also my dream.
Yeah. Because, you know, he played a good kind of smarmy role in Mad Men. So
that's very true. That's very true. And he was also set to be Batman for a while. You know, it was rumored that he was really heavily courting Matt Reeves to play the Batman character. So if he didn't get that, if he missed out on that, because Matt Reeves is apparently looking for a younger Batman, yeah, totally get him to play Thomas Wayne.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
In other DC news, DC Universe had this big, it felt like 7-hour special last Thursday, hosted by Kevin Smith.
Oh, the live one, yeah.
Yeah. And it should not have been live.
No?
There were quite a few mistakes.
I didn't watch it.
I watched the whole thing.
They made mistakes?
They did. It was not the best produced. It should not have been live. I remember Kevin Smith, he just was talking with Jim Lee. Then all of a sudden he looks at the teleprompter again and he's just like, I don't know what to do. The thing, well, so, what, this is live, folks. The teleprompter. Oh, okay, yeah, here we go. So then he started talking. It was like, oh my gosh.
Oh shit.
But yeah, and then like things got like, you know, it's Kevin Smith and he's kind of dirty humored. So things got dirty, and I'm sure like the Warner Brothers executives and the DC executives were just like, oh my gosh, why are you guys talking about that?
Talking about what?
They're equating like binge watching to masturbating.
Really?
Yes. And it was just, it got kind of ridiculous. But we did get some news items out of it. The release date for DC Universe is set for September 15th, which is less than just a couple of weeks away.
A few weeks away, yeah. That's exciting.
Yeah, it's super cool. I guess the beta was already released, and we weren't a part of that. Don't know why, but I'm still looking forward to it on September 15th. It's going to be great. The Titans is not going to debut with it.
No?
No. The Titans are going to come a month later, October 15th. But they're going to have their premiere at the New York Comic Con on October 3rd. So we're going to get like our first impressions long before it debuts.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The episodes will be released weekly, not all at once.
Oh, what?
Yeah, so we're not going to be reviewing those.
So we don't get to binge masturbate?
No. I really wish I remember the word that they used. It was kind of hilarious.
Well, I guess that means that we won't also be doing a review on this show.
Right. We only do that for a TV series who released all the episodes simultaneously.
And that's just Netflix, really.
Well, they're doing it for the new Runaway season 2.
Oh, God, no.
We're not gonna do that.
I don't know. Well, those who have listened to this podcast know that I wasn't a big fan of season 1. I guess there is potential in season 2 for them to actually be runaways, finally. But I don't know if we'll be reviewing that or not. I'll check out the first few episodes of Runaway season 2 and see if it's worth reviewing.
The other cool thing about that live special was they're going to have a daily DC news segment called DC Daily.
Uh-huh.
And the hosts that they have for that, not only does it include Kevin Smith, but it also includes John Barrowman, who's an actor on Arrow, Sam Humphries, who is one of the actors on Freaks and Geeks. Kevin Smith's daughter, Harley Quinn Smith, is going to be one of the hosts. I guess it's her first job. It was kind of funny. Yeah, but it's like they got this like insane cast of like not only normal like web series hosts, but legit actors.
And they're just going to be talking about DC related news?
Yeah. Yeah, from the comics, from the movies, from the TV shows, anything DC related they'll be talking about, and they'll be dropping news daily.
And how long is this show supposed to be?
I don't know. That's a good question.
You think there couldn't possibly be that much news on a daily basis to discuss for that long?
I mean, I have a news feed that feeds in comic book news all the time. And we post that to Twitter, we post that to Facebook. That happens every day.
True.
So there's always something to talk about. So that was cool. That was really the only interesting thing that came out of it, other than like the Stargirl logo. No real news came out of it. I was kind of surprised.
Well, I mean, are you even excited for this app now that you know that the Titans isn't even going to debut with it?
Oh my gosh. Dude, I cannot wait to start reading comics on my television.
Oh.
For that alone,
yeah.
I'm absolutely excited for it.
Well, and I guess you're getting access to the whole backlog of DC movies and cartoons and stuff like that, so.
Yeah, I mean, my daughter has never seen Batman 89, and she's never seen Superman, the original. They're going to be launching with the debut of this. So, I mean, there's definitely going to be content to hold me over until that show comes out.
That's true.
And even then, like, I'm going to watch like an hour episode of that every week. I mean, I'm not buying this just for that show.
Okay.
So.
Very cool. I wish Marvel had something like that.
Yeah,
I'm jealous
do.
as hell.
Yeah, you do.
Moving on.
Also, speaking of DC Universe, this news didn't drop with that live special, but Alan Tudyk has been cast as Mr. Nobody in the Doom Patrol show,
right,
which is fantastic. I love Alan Tudyk. He is a great, hilarious actor.
Yeah, he's done a lot of fan work. Did they give the release date for the Doom Patrol show?
No, we don't know any of the release dates of any of the other shows other than Titans.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, if they're just filming it now, you would think that easily they're not going to release Doom Patrol until next year.
Yeah. That's a fair assumption. Yeah, but I guess Alan Tudyk as Mr. Nobody will be the main villain of, I guess, the first season for Doom Patrol.
It's cool that he gets to come back to a DC television show after the flop that was, what was the name of that show?
Powerless.
Yeah, that was on NBC, right?
Right. He was Bruce Wayne's cousin.
Yeah.
Van Wayne, I think his name was. Yeah, and I still kind of miss that show. Honestly, it wasn't that bad of a show. I laughed at it. But no, yeah, it's great to see him back in DC company.
And what does he do?
Mr. Nobody?
Does he have powers?
Yeah, he does. He's like this two-dimensional kind of shadow creature. He was like experimented on.
Oh, like the Hawkman villain, Shadow Thief, right?
Sort of. He looks more like a piece of like art. He has an interesting look. I'm not sure how they're going to depict it on screen. It definitely has to be CG. Well, but his power is to cause people who are near him to go insane.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if his appearance is anything like the rest of the cast's appearance, it's going to be fairly faithful to the comic books.
Oh, yeah. So there were behind-the-scenes leaked set photos of the Doom Patrol team members. And the whole thing was like really comic accurate. From Negative Man, we got to see Elastigirl, we got to see Crazy Jane. We got like a brief glimpse of Robot Man.
Yeah, that was cool.
And even that with that brief little glimpse, it's such a good look. The costuming on this is fantastic.
Well, we were talking a few weeks ago about how Brendan Fraser has been cast to voice Robot Man.
Right.
And so I was really excited. We had talked about how the role is probably going to be CG. It's going to be a CG character. But judging from these photos,
it's not CG.
It's all prosthetic. And I have to say that he looks a little bit like the Thing from the first Fantastic Four movies.
Yeah, kind of. Well, he's like this orange kind of beetle-browed, brutish, hulking character.
Yeah, but for a robot, he shouldn't look foamy, I guess.
I don't think he looks foamy. I think he looks like beat-up metal.
He looks like metal in as much as the Thing looked like rock. I think in the Fantastic Four movies, Michael Chiklis' suit looked a little bit foamy, and I think you could kind of make the same argument here.
I'm not making that argument. I think it looks fantastic.
It does look hot as hell, whatever it's made out of.
If you want to see these photos, they were released by justjared.com. I don't think I mentioned that earlier. But you could judge for yourself. I don't think it looks bad at all. I think it looks freaking fantastic.
The design is great. The material, I mean, I'm always for practical effects when they look right. I'll make that statement 100% of the time when compared to CGI work. But if it doesn't look right, then it could look a little bit Muppety.
No, I think this looks great.
Okay.
It's definitely not being played by Brendan Fraser, because you can see like the stunt guy walking around without the helmet on.
Right.
But everyone else, honestly, I'm not sure who's playing Negative Man. But he looks really cool. He's all, bandaged up with the sunglasses.
Yeah, he's straight out of the comics.
Yeah, Crazy Jane looks like she's straight out of the comics. Elastigirl, she's not wearing any kind of super suit. I think she was an actress in the comics. So she looks kind of, she's wearing a pearl necklace. She looks very dainty.
In a dress, yeah.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this series now. I think I'm more looking forward to this than I am Titans.
Really?
Yeah.
I could see that, especially after that first Titans trailer.
Well, don't get me started. I don't know.
But yeah, this looks like it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes.
These are very interesting characters, finally getting their long overdue due.
Yeah, I remember for the longest time they said they were going to be making a Doom Patrol movie. Like, that was like 10 years ago, over 10 years ago, and I got so excited. So it's finally great to see them in live action.
Yeah, exciting stuff.
Yeah. But all of this kind of brings us to our question of the week.
What's your favorite superhero team that has yet to star in their own film or TV show and needs to? There are a lot of superhero teams out there that have yet to make an appearance live action wise. And yeah, we want to hear what you guys think would make the best film or television show with a team of characters.
Post your answer to our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or email us at dynamicduelpodcast@gmail.com. We will pick our favorite answer and draw that person a Dynamic Duel No Prize that we'll post to social media.
Yeah, and I think that does it for all the news this episode. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the main event where we find out who would win in a fight between Zatanna and Scarlet Witch.
Bring it on!
All right, Zatanna versus Scarlet Witch. We're doing this particular matchup at this point in time because, as you know, we always like to pair our duel episodes with our review episodes.
Yeah, if we can.
In our last episode, we reviewed Avengers Age of Ultron, which was the first film appearance of Scarlet Witch. And in our next episode, we are going to be reviewing Justice League Dark. So this is kind of like a nice sandwich duel in between those two reviews that involves characters from each film.
Right, because Zatanna's in Justice League Dark.
Correct. I'm really excited for this matchup. I really love Scarlet Witch as a character. She's been through some shit over the years, but she's really fascinating to me. A little bit tragic, but her powers and her look are just so cool.
Oh, you think Scarlet Witch has been through some shit?
Yeah.
Wait until you hear about Zatanna.
Okay. Zatanna's look is kind of too easy, I think.
What?
She's a stage magician, right?
Oh, as opposed to like the gypsy look not being too
Romani,
easy? Okay.
sir.
Okay.
Get your terms right. It's 2018. Jeez. All right. So as I mentioned briefly at the start of this episode, what we do here is we take the two characters that we're pitting against each other and go through their histories and their powers. From that point, we go ahead and kind of develop a scenario in our minds of how we think that fight would go. We speculate on how one of the simulations that we run later would pan out.
So, and then we run the simulations.
Right. It's 1,000 simulations, and it's all based off of their stats, which derive from the official Marvel Power Rankings grid, and from there extrapolate the DC stats. And then we throw in additional stats as well, depending on the matchup and what we think is important and what is likely to determine the outcome of a battle.
Right. We run a probabilistic model using the Monte Carlo method for these battle simulations. Basically what it does is it takes their base stat and plots it on a random point along a bell curve, which represents the variables that will inevitably come throughout any of these battles.
Yeah, it's a good way to kind of account for that randomness in battle. So yeah, let's get to it.
I think I start this time.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get into the history of Zatanna.
Cool. So, Zatanna Zatara was the daughter of famed stage magician and heroic sorcerer Giovanni Zatara, and a woman named Cinderella, who was of the Homo Magi race, a race genetically gifted with magical abilities. Having believed that her mother died in a car accident shortly after her birth, Zatanna was raised by her globetrotting father and was trained in stage magic and sleight of hand. When she was 18, Zatanna's father Giovanni managed to trap an evil witch named Allura within a sword, but he was cursed in the process and made unable to have any kind of direct or indirect contact with his daughter, lest she die. He left our realm for another called Karma to protect his daughter. Giovanni, a Golden Age hero known as Zatanna, was an accomplished spell writer and descendant of Leonardo da Vinci, from whom he developed a method of spellcasting known as logomancy, in which he recites spells backwards. Eventually, Zatanna found one of his diaries and discovered her own innate magical abilities. Adopting her father's spellcasting method and creating a stage act for herself, Zatanna traveled the world looking for her father, developing her magic abilities as she came across other magicians and heroes such as John Constantine, whom she dated for a time. She eventually came across the sword that Allura was trapped inside and was tricked into freeing her. Zatanna learned of her father's whereabouts and with the help of the Justice League was able to re-trap Allura and undo her spell, allowing her to be reunited with her father once more. Zatanna continued her stage magician career and aided or guided the Justice League several times before she was brought on as a full member. Her first mission as an official Justice League member was actually to locate her mother Cinderella, whom Zatanna learned hadn't died in a car accident, but was abducted by other Homo Magi and taken to a secret city of the Hidden Ones in Turkey. With the aid of her father, Zatanna found her mother, whom she learned was the chosen one of her generation to possess the Medulla Jewel, a psychic magic energy she emanated that other Homo Magi fed off of. It wasn't an actual jewel. Their reunion was short-lived, however, as Cinderella used her powerful magic against the Hidden Ones, sacrificing herself, knowing that her daughter would have been the next chosen one, and protecting her from that fate. Joining the Justice League in their adventures exhausted Zatanna's magical abilities over time, allowing her only able to manipulate elemental magic. She returned to her stage career to build up her magical abilities, and it wasn't long before she was contacted by John Constantine, who asked for her and other sorcerers' help in stopping the Great Evil Beast, who, as Constantine explained, was the great darkness that existed before God said, "Let there be light," and had been awakened during the recent Crisis on Infinite Earths event. And though he wasn't invited, Giovanni Zatanna tagged along with the group as he didn't trust John Constantine, especially after he learned about the tantric rituals Constantine taught his daughter Zatanna. That's awesome. While more powerful magic entities such as the Phantom Stranger and the Spectre fought the Great Evil Beast directly in Hell, the group of sorcerers helped through a seance that Giovanni was forced to partake in along with his daughter. Several of the sorcerers died in the process, being consumed by flames, and just as Zatanna was about to succumb next, her father shifted the flames to him instead, sacrificing himself and making Constantine promise to watch over his daughter. The Great Evil Beast was defeated, and Zatanna ended up blaming Constantine for her father's death. Later, in the Identity Crisis storyline, it was revealed that Zatanna, during her time in the Justice League, and at the secret behest of other League members, was responsible for magically mind-wiping and altering the personality of numerous Justice League villains throughout the years, after one villain, Dr. Light, discovered their secret identities and raped the wife of one of the heroes. Batman walked in on Zatanna and the Leaguers performing the procedure, and in a rage at their unethical and immoral actions, began to attack them, forcing the League members to subdue and mind-wipe him. Zatanna and Bruce Wayne had been childhood friends, as her father Giovanni trained Bruce in escape artistry, but the missing gap in his memory made Batman distrust Zatanna, and their relationship deteriorated. Zatanna attempted at one point a magic ritual with a small group of up-and-coming sorcerers to recover her father's lost tomes, but the ritual ended with the emergence of a shape-shifting being who ended up killing everyone else in the group. Guilt-stricken over this and the prior mind wipes while in the Justice League, Zatanna lost her confidence and her powers, but regained them over time, and thanks to the assistance she provided to a group of Time Guardians, she was granted one final audience with her father before his death, who revealed to her that all the magic spells he had ever written were written within her very being, she being his greatest spell and gift to the world.
Huh.
I don't know. It was just a thing. It's Grant Morrison. Don't question it.
He wrote the spells in her because she is his greatest
I said don't
spell?
question it.
Okay.
She returned to the Justice League as a reserve member to help against mystical threats should they arise. In the New 52 continuity reboot, Zatanna was a founding member of the Justice League Dark, along with fellow members Constantine and Deadman, who came together to stop the Enchantress from destroying reality. Power-wise, Zatanna is one of Earth's foremost magic users, as well as a master illusionist, hypnotist, and sleight-of-handist. As a Homo Magi, her innate magical ability consists of elemental control, but she can also perform spells for telekinesis, telepathy, teleportation, transformation, healing, and energy manipulation, among other things. There may very well be no limit to what she's able to affect so long as she can say it backwards. But that may very well be her one weakness, as her magic is dependent on her voice. Though there have been several instances, like when the Joker shot her in the throat, when she's been able to successfully write a magic spell using her magic blood.
Weird. Explain one thing to me.
Okay.
So during that story, there's something that stood out to me in that she had at one point exhausted her magical abilities and was only able to perform elemental magic.
Yeah.
But then was able to kind of like recharge those magical energies through performing stage magic. Explain that to me.
So she was exhausting her magic.
So she has like a magic meter.
Well, it's like a muscle. If she overuses it, it gets tired. But if she rests, she regains her magical abilities.
So why is she only limited to elemental magic?
That's a great question. I think it was sort of a writer's attempt to depower her.
Mm-hmm. Is elemental magic rationalized as base magic?
I think it was her innate Homo Magi ability.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Understandable. All right. All I know is that during this fight, she's going to run out of her magic meter.
No.
Gotcha.
I doubt it. This was like over a long period of time.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, that's a pretty interesting story. I almost completely forgot that she was the daughter of another superhero.
Yeah, Zatanna.
Who was a Golden Age hero?
Yes, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, he had a pretty good death, too.
A lot of heroes sort of like got rebooted in the Silver Age in DC, like the Flash, like Green Lantern. But it was kind of interesting in how they made Zatanna's reboot his daughter.
Yeah, that is interesting. Let's go ahead and get into the Scarlet Witch then. So, eons ago, an elder god of chaos named Chthon ruled the earth with reality-altering power called chaos magic. His reign was ended by the sorcerers of earth, who imprisoned Chthon in Wundagore Mountain and erased all existence and memory of chaos magic. Eons later, Wanda and her twin brother Pietro Maximoff were born. Their early past is still somewhat of a mystery. It was long suspected that the two were the children of Magneto and his wife Magda. However, they were really born to Natalia Maximoff and an unknown father in Serbia. An evil scientist called the High Evolutionary kidnapped them as babies and performed genetic experiments on them at his base on Wundagore Mountain, the same location where Chthon was secretly imprisoned. Chthon reached out and influenced baby Wanda with a fraction of his chaos magic power, quietly affecting the High Evolutionary's experiments on her. He granted Wanda and Pietro each special abilities that would be unlocked later in life, but the High Evolutionary was displeased with his results and gave the children to their aunt and uncle, Django and Mariah Maximoff. It was later made to look like they were Magneto's kids when Magneto's wife Magda wrongly believed she gave birth to them in a fabrication during her grief over losing her real daughter, Anya. It's complicated and really just Marvel's convoluted way to legitimize their origins in the MCU, where mutants aren't currently a thing. Though you never know, Strucker's experiments with the Mind Stone could be retconned into awakening their mutant genes now that Marvel has the X-Men rights back. Anyway, the story is that according to the High Evolutionary, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver are actually masquerading as mutants, when in reality they are the results of genetic experimentation. They grew up with their aunt and uncle in a Romani camp that traveled the Serbian-Transian border. Times were tough for them and led to Pietro stealing food for them to survive. Enraged villagers attacked their camp, and Wanda, unable to control her powers at the time, accidentally started a fire that burned everything down and killed their family that raised them. Traumatized, the twins fled the area and wandered Central Europe, mentally blocking out much of what happened in their early childhood. They were later discovered by Magneto, who defended them from an angry mob who suspected them of being witches. Wanda and her brother joined Magneto's Brotherhood of Evil Mutants with the villain named Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. They fought together on multiple occasions against the X-Men, however they never truly believed in Magneto's dream of mutant superiority. They left the team and were inducted with former villain turned hero Hawkeye into the second generation of Avengers after the initial team disbanded. While Quicksilver eventually left the team, Wanda stayed on, becoming an Avengers mainstay. She eventually began studying magic under a sorceress named Agatha Harkness, finding that she could use spells to affect the results of her probability-altering powers, which up to that point had been largely unpredictable. During the Kree-Skrull War, she and Vision, a synthetic android on the team, expressed romantic feelings for each other. Those feelings blossomed into a relationship and eventually marriage. Through the use of Wanda's chaos magic and probability hexes, they were able to conceive twin sons, Thomas and William. Though a short while later, Vision was abducted and dismantled by rogue agents of the US government. He was rebuilt, but became a shell of who he once was, devoid of color and emotion. His relationship with Wanda and their twins was strained, and it was revealed that the magical energy used to create their children unknowingly came from the demon Mephisto, who redrew his energy and ended their kids' existence. Wanda was driven insane by the loss of her children and her husband's identity. Her memory of the twins was magically erased by a spell from Agatha Harkness. She and Vision separated shortly after. Wanda later began a romantic relationship with her Avengers teammate Wonder Man, who died, but whose ionic energy body she was able to bring back to life during a battle with Morgan Le Fay. Not long after, however, the memory of Vision's and Wanda's lost twins drove the Scarlet Witch into a mental breakdown, and she lost control of her reality-altering powers. Her unstable nature resulted in a series of deadly incidents in which Vision, Ant-Man, and Hawkeye were killed. The Avengers Mansion was destroyed, and the Avengers were disassembled. Wanda's mental illness was attempted to be treated by Professor X and Doctor Strange, but with no results. Her brother Pietro convinced her to create a reality in which everyone was happy, and thus the House of M reality was formed, where mutants were the population's majority, humans were the minority, and her twins Thomas and William were alive again. The tearing down of this reality, however, resulted in the decimation event, where a vast majority of mutants lost their powers. Wanda exiled herself from the rest of the world, but was eventually discovered in Latveria by the Young Avengers team. She was manipulated by Doctor Doom to be engaged to him, and it was revealed that he was the cause of her breakdown through his attempts to help her bring back her children. He stole her powers and fought the Avengers and Young Avengers, though his powers overloaded. The Young Avengers helped restore Wanda's mind by taking her back in time to the day of her mental breakdown, and it was revealed that Young Avengers team members Wiccan and Speed were reincarnated versions of the souls of her twin children.
Why was Doctor Doom interested in them?
Dr. Doom was interested in the twins, but he was interested in basically manipulating Wanda into becoming a conduit for the life force to bring people back from the dead, which would also include his dead mother.
Okay.
So during the Avengers vs. X-Men event, Wanda and Hope Summers used the power of the Phoenix Force, which had returned to Earth, to restore the powers of mutants around the world. She then joined the Avengers Unity Division, a team comprised of X-Men and Avengers, to fight for peaceful coexistence between humans and mutants. Wanda's powers given to her by the High Evolutionaries' experiments were theorized to be basic probability-altering energies. However, those abilities were influenced by the demon god Chthon's chaos magic to develop into broad reality-warping powers. Wanda can alter the state of energy and matter around her for a variety of phenomena that can result in deconstitution, reconstitution, transmutation, transference through physical space via telekinesis or teleportation, etc.
Really?
She can manifest her magic energies through bolts, orbs, and waves, and even generate magical force fields. Wanda can cast illusions as part of her reality warping and is capable of repelling psychic intrusion, even at Professor X's level. She has some fight training from Captain America and has an expert knowledge of sorcery and witchcraft. The end. What do you think about that?
I think Zatanna could basically do anything Scarlet Witch can do. I mean, she has some fight training from her father as well, who was a trained fighter. I don't think I mentioned that, but she does.
Oh, yeah, you just making shit up now?
No.
Along the way?
No.
Okay. All right, so now that we got into the histories and powers of each character, we're going to go ahead and go into this speculative scenario on how we think the fight would go. The rules that we like to set up for the match is that the characters start off about 50 yards apart from each other, and they don't know anything about each other than that each other are threats and they need to be taken down.
Right, and another rule is that they fight in a non-environment, or an environment that has no bearing on the battle whatsoever. Because we don't take stats for environment. It's too big of a variable.
Right, and it can affect the outcome of the battle too much. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. All right, they start 50 yards apart. Who makes the first move?
That's a good question.
This will be a tough one because they can literally almost do anything, so we're just mostly constrained by our imaginations at this point. So to that end, I imagine that Scarlet Witch goes first. And she's going to shoot a hex bolt at Zatanna, and it's going to be mostly kind of like a probing shot. It's going to see how powerful she is, and it's just mainly going to be primarily a force blast that will knock her back.
Okay, so she shoots that, and then Zatanna says, "To Kilfer." I have this like reverse text generator up.
Okay.
Which is reflect backwards. So the hex bolt reflects away from Zatanna and hits Scarlet Witch.
Okay, so she gets blasted with her own hex bolt.
Yes.
That was pretty much just kind of like a love tap. Okay. Just to test to see how powerful she was. So like it hits her and she's like, oh, okay, so she's got some magical abilities. What I'm going to do is...
No. Zatanna goes next and she says, Samaif Otni Tsurub.
What does that mean?
Burst into flames.
Okay, so I guess she combusts Wanda?
Yes.
Then?
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty good. So Wanda's like freaking out. She's like, oh my God. So she kind of like flies upward and like shoots the flame outward away from her body. And she conjures all of that fire together in a ball that she sends hurtling back at Zatanna.
And that's when Zatanna says, Raf Snart Ontni Drib, which means transform into birds.
Okay.
And the flames just kind of turn into birds and fly away.
Like doves or something like that?
Yeah.
So then Wanda casts spells on each of the birds so that they turn into like tiny dragons, and they all start swarming around Zatanna and breathing fire at her.
And that's when Zatanna says, Kata Rui Retsam, which is attack your master.
So she's going to direct these creations, essentially, of the Scarlet Witch. That spell doesn't fly with me.
Why?
I don't think that would work.
Why?
Because then Scarlet Witch would just, command them to go back and attack her again.
No, it was a hypnotic magical spell that made them attack Scarlet Witch instead.
Okay, and Scarlet Witch just reverses reality so that they're attacking her again.
What? That doesn't make any sense.
Yours doesn't make any sense. We just spelled ourselves into a corner. So eventually, the dragons, confused about what to do, they just kind of explode in their own fiery bursts.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, too much magic overload.
Yeah. Then Scarlet Witch alters reality so that the floor that Zatanna is standing on turns into quicksand and she falls into the floor.
Okay, so then Zatanna says...
And while she's thinking about what to say, typing on her computer...
No, that's when Zatanna says, Trepolet, which is teleport. And she teleports behind Wanda and then grabs her mind because she doesn't know that she's resistant to magic.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, Laf Pilsa, which is fall asleep.
Okay, so then Wanda falls asleep. She falls into like a coma and falls asleep.
Okay.
And Zatanna is watching her fall asleep.
And then she kicks her in the stomach? I don't know.
And Zatanna goes to kick Wanda in the stomach and finds out that her foot goes right through Wanda's body. You know why?
Why?
Because when she grabbed her to perform the spell, before she could get the words out, Wanda created a hex illusion in which she thought she was touching the Scarlet Witch, but in fact she was just touching an illusion. So the spell was not cast on Wanda. Zatanna realizes that she has kicked an incorporeal illusion, and at that point finds herself with a hex bubble around her whole head, like a fishbowl.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay, doing what?
Oh, you'll find out.
Okay. I think I know where you're going with this.
You do? All right, then.
Okay, so Zatanna says, Evomer re you... It's fucking hard to read backwards. Evomer Roy Srewap. Which means remove your powers. She's trying to depower Scarlet Witch.
Okay, so what she doesn't realize is that the hex bubble that Scarlet Witch put around her head is actually a reverse hex. So anything that Zatanna says, anything that comes out of her mouth, the reverse of that actually happens. So at that point, Scarlet Witch becomes like super powerful, and she's like coursing with chaos energies like radiating from her, and she uses that to kind of like just wrap Zatanna up in like these entanglements of like red energies.
Like the Crimson Bands of Cedric?
Yeah, kind of, but she doesn't have that ability. So, but it's just these red energies that she's ensnaring Zatanna in.
Does she still have the orb around her head?
Yes.
Okay, so Zatanna's like, she's figured out what's going on with this hex sphere around her head.
Yeah, the reverse hex spell.
Yeah, so then she says, Emit Sat.
What does that mean?
Fast forward time, or time fast forward. So then she starts rewinding time to when she first got the hex sphere on her head, and she says, Uinak Ease, which is, you can see.
Oh, so she blinds Wanda?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, interesting. All right.
And then right away after that she says, Teg seat mad git no yim day.
Okay. What was that?
Get this damn thing off my head. No, get this damn thing on my head. So then it dissipates.
Okay.
The hex
sphere. So Wanda's blind, and Zatanna is no longer bound by the reverse hex sphere that's over her head.
Right. But Wanda doesn't know it. Okay. She can't see it.
But so Wanda doesn't know what's going on, so she puts up a magic shield around her to protect herself, and she emanates this chaos magic wave that spreads out away from her, transforming reality into a huge set of like mirrors, like a mirror funhouse, hiding herself so that she can restore her eyesight. And Zatanna is essentially lost in this mirror maze kind of thing.
Okay, so that's when Zatanna says, Saig Retas, which is glass shatter. So it's no longer a barrier for her. She can see what Scarlet Witch is doing.
So the glass shatters and falls to the ground, and Wanda conjures up this huge glass monster from it with this big, like, huge glass mace that starts attacking Zatanna.
Oh, jeez. Okay, so that's when Zatanna says, Nrut Otni a Tibar, which is turn into a rabbit.
All right, so the glass monster turns into a rabbit.
Yes.
And while Zatanna was preoccupied with dealing with the glass monster, that's when Wanda, with her eyesight restored, shoots a hex bolt right at Zatanna's mouth that seals it shut, so she actually no longer has a mouth.
Oh, of course, I should have given you her weakness, but I guess she would have deduced it by now.
Oh, yeah. And then Zatanna's freaking out about the fact that she doesn't have a mouth, and...
No, she's not freaking out. She's been in this situation before.
She has?
Sort of.
Okay.
Okay, so that's when she grabs the rabbit and she, like...
Kills it?
No!
Oh, God. Jeez. I thought you were going to use,
where are you going
there? I thought you were going to use the rabbit's blood to, like, write a spell.
No, it's her blood. Her blood is magic.
Oh, okay.
So then she sticks her finger in its mouth so it bites her. And then she uses that to write out her spell. Eroster Yim Hitum, which is restore my mouth.
Okay, how many characters is that particular spell? Because while she's writing the spell out with her blood, at that point, Scarlet Witch goes in with like twin chaos magic scimitars and just whoop, decapitates her or slices her larynx. Match is over.
16 characters?
Yeah, there's too many characters to write out that fast.
Okay. She's gonna say 4 characters, Adnu, which is undo.
Like Command Z?
Yeah.
Undo?
Yeah,
oh,
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, is that it for this match?
I don't know.
It's just going to keep going back and forth. They can really do anything. So I think the only true determiner of who would win this match would be through the stats. Let's go ahead and see how they compare, run the simulations, and come out with a victor. Cool.
Okay, so you remember when we were saying that this could be decided by stats? Well, it turns out that they have the same exact stats.
We have not had this happen since the Green Arrow Hawkeye fight.
Right.
Yeah, here they're so kind of ill-defined. Their power sets are so vague that their feats are comparable and their stats are also comparable.
I would say they're different in that Zatanna needs her voice to be able to perform her magic. Although she's been known to use sign language, I've since learned to be able to perform her stats. But I mean, they could both basically do anything.
Right, exactly. It's going to be a coin toss, but we still ran the simulations and we did still come up with a definitive winner.
For our sakes.
For our sakes. So we can put this little debate to bed.
Right, so whenever you bring it up again, I'm just like, remember the episode? This is who won.
Yep. All right, so the winner between the Zatanna Scarlet Witch battle is...
You're too happy. I already know who... just give it to me.
Scarlet Witch.
Whenever it comes down to these coin tosses, you always get the win.
It's just a matter of probability.
Yes, so.
Damn, I should have put on my poker face just a little bit more there. Because, I totally telegraphed that one. Scarlet Witch, out of 1,000 battles, Scarlet Witch won 514 matches, whereas Zatanna only won 486. But again, since it's a coin toss, we could run the simulations again and get a different result.
So Scarlet Witch won 51.4% of the matches.
Yes. Yeah, in this
really
instance.
Close.
But yeah, again, could go any which way. This is one of those battles like the Green Arrow Hawkeye fight that really just can't be determined. And it's, whatever the writer is feeling that day.
Yeah, there kind of is no definitive answer here. The characters are too similar. They're too ill-defined.
Oh, there's an answer. Scarlet Witch won 51.4% of the matches. There's your answer. And that does it for this episode. So yeah, take that to the bank
and catch that check.
Yep.
We always say that. I have no idea what it means.
So yeah, let us know what you guys thought about this episode by writing into us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or you can email us at dynamicduelpodcast@gmail.com. You can find links to all of what I just said right there by visiting dynamicduel.com. And on that site, you could also find a link to our merch store where we sell lots of cool Marvel and DC related items.
Right, it's all fan art. You'll also find on our website, dynamicduel.com, a link to our Patreon page, which if you sign up now, you won't be charged this month because once again, we are on hiatus.
Right, but we're going to come back next month with a vengeance, so look forward to that. And also look forward to next week's episode when we review the DC animated film Justice League Dark. I have not seen that one before, so I'm kind of looking forward to it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either.
I like all the characters involved in that.
Yeah.
Should be a fun time.
Yeah, in the meantime, please don't forget to rate, review, share, and subscribe us with all of your friends and family and strangers.
And if I can make a specific request here, is that we're specifically looking for rates and reviews on the iTunes, the Apple Podcasts platform, because we have a goal in mind to get our reviews on these Marvel and DC films featured on Rotten Tomatoes, which has recently laxed their requirements to become a featured reviewer.
Yeah, they're basically requiring, I think, at least 4 stars and at least 200 ratings.
On iTunes.
On iTunes, yeah, which is a lot. We're far from that. If you want to help us at all, please go onto iTunes. Please rate us. And if you're feeling extra cool,
Review us.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we'll talk to you again in a week.
Up and away.
True believers.